All right. Um, if there's anybody here hanging out, go ahead and mention whether I think the audio is getting through. Camera looks a little blurry to me. Might be better for everybody if it is. Let me see. Maybe a little better. I mean, nothing's going to improve this mug very much. Hi, I'm Earl, and it's been 300 and some other what stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. If that means that I'm using too high of a bandwidth, or if it's being dumb. But anyway, yeah. So this is what do I call this? Tenacious Sports, right? Something like that. It's been only, like I said, 300 and I don't know. I don't have the studio there now where I can see it was like 320 some odd days since the last live stream, and probably have had like 0 videos in the last 6 months. But it's always a time to start anew. So I guess not anew, just checking checking in. It's as you can see here. I don't know. I guess I must have been doing videos here when I took my new job. This is kind of like my desk space now. So um, obviously, I don't do this. Actually, that's part of the reason why is I haven't done videos, is to try and not do stuff while uh, it's work hours. But in any regard, um, yeah, just um, yeah. So this is a channel that have done a lot with dice, cards, cards, dice. Um, some things on the computer. Some things went from cards to using the computer. Some things, uh, yeah, that's basically it. um, mostly trying to, the projects I tend to embark on have been like long projects. So I think, um, some of the hiatus I had is just, like I said, um, partly to try and sort of like dial in on my vocation, which, as much as this is a fun little hobby, at one point, a little bit of money rolling in with it, but not a ton, but uh, not enough to mouths in put food in the mouths of those that I support. So, but it was kind of, but I needed to sort of like dial in to a vocational change. It's still related to what I did before, but a whole different skill set, whole different thing. Going from actually a lot of the stuff I've shown on this channel, I end up sort of leading me into more of a computing IT role versus doing the chemistry job that I used to do. But anyway, so I just needed to sort of like get as laser focused as I could. Plus, there were a lot of other personal things going on. Um, Change in place of worship and things like that. Just a lot of things happening. Family stuff have a parent. We all have had or currently have. Well, we all don't, but many of us have parents or have had parents that have gone through difficulties, and that's been some portion of the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months has been regarding that too, so that takes some time. But anyway, so having said all that, what has been happening? Well, it's not like I have abandoned doing any tabletop gaming. It's just the tabletop gaming has become what I kind of felt like it started as, and I don't know. I guess what happened is I started doing tabletop gaming based on a friend's suggestion to try Stratomatic baseball, and so started doing that, and then you do what anybody with a broadband connection does. You go looking for videos of people showing tutorials and all sorts of good fun things that go on with what your hobby is that you currently are doing, or if you're outside looking to fix your steps or change oil in your car, or you know unclog a toilet, you might go to YouTube and look. Hopefully you don't have to for the clogged toilet. If you do, well, that stinks. But anyway, getting off track. My typical thing. I try to get clever and then I get way off base. But anyway, so it started out. It should have been the fun for Earl thing, and then you start watching other people on YouTube and you say, there's not that many people out there, and you know, might be interesting to make some videos about it, and it kind of like snowballs into a lot more. So I got to the point where I think I just needed to sort of dial back the content and get back to which part of me really wanted to get back to playing some Stratomatic, and I hadn't yet, because I'm still in this space where I have projects that are open, and I started horsing around with the 2011 set that my friend Larry sent me of ATBA baseball, and I'm doing some Phillies stuff, and I get just about as far in a series or two that I can go before the Phillies annoy me, and then I have to put it away for a little while. So go from that. Been playing quite a bit of second season football. The fiction, the golf fictional stuff has really kind of gotten me into this fictional mindset more, and so the Football America has been fun. I've been playing basically a 16 game season with all the teams. It's 12 teams, and I split them into two divisions, and actually I took the teams and I recast. I think I probably put a video on here about that. So and I don't know if I played a game out. It's possible. I probably should have gone back and looked and saw what I was doing when I basically put myself on the shelf. But another change, a little less soda, a little more things like sparkling water, which taste good. Still has sort of that tingle in your mouth, but a lot less junk. But anyway, preservatives, yada yada yada, salt. But there's probably still sodium in that, right? No, somehow they put the carbonate in there without the sodium. Anyway, all right, that's good. I think I'm about halfway through the second season, so that's interesting. Those games, they take a while, so you kind of have to knuckle down and say I'm only going to do like one or two a week, because it's a good bit of work. If I were to migrate into like the Express or something like that, then it would cut things down. I've also played. I had some ATBA soccer stuff I was playing. Still doing that. I think it's the 2020 season, 2020, 2021. It's that COVID affected season, which it'll be interesting to see. In let's say 20 years, if I'm still around, how many people even want to touch the 2020 season of whatever sport it is, because it just, in some regards, there'll be some nostalgia with it, but I think most people kind of have a bad, leaves a bad taste in their mouth. But anyway, I also bought, there was another fictional set. It was soccer, and I played a little bit of that. It was Soccer Blast, but haven't really gotten too far with that. So, but anyway, and then obviously probably the thing that I've done the most on my channel in the last, say, 5 years has been History Maker Golf. And it's funny because that's probably the thing I've done the least out of all of the sports. And I think part of that is that there was at one point there I had put every tournament on YouTube in one place or the other. And so, hi Derek, happy Friday to you. Just let me see. Let me find my account. I'm interested to see what the last tournament. I'm on tournament 10 for whatever 2022, 21. I don't know. I can't remember. But let's see. My videos. Where is it? Your videos. Yeah. Sort by most recent. That was the last season of that. So probably I did it live. Okay. Well, I did a ASG golf thing. See, so tournament 6. So I've done 3 tournaments since the last tournament here, and maybe I'll do a little catch up on that at some point. I would kind of, Derek, if you could just mention, is the camera choppy? Does it look okay? How's the audio, et cetera, et cetera? I haven't really gotten any comments yet. So if the audio is stinky, I'm using the camera audio, not the microphone I have. So if it's ultra terrible, then I'll switch back to the other thing. But all good. Well, that's good. Yeah. So I've done. So I'm actually in. I guess it's Arnie's. You know, it's the Bay Hill Classic. I'm gonna play. I think I'm gonna play some of that this weekend at some point, and I'll put it on the channel here. Hello, Bob. Oh, actually, great. That's fine by me. That's what I was hoping for. But again, it's been a good long while, and I'm I just have no clue what's going to continue to work. The computer seems to slow down incrementally by the week, month, year, I don't know which, but like, this computer thing, it's like, so if it has to do an update, somehow this update, Windows update must take like 5 gigs of space or something. It's just like my C drive it's got like 3 or 4 gigs clear, and it'll be like, this can't update, because I'm like, well, heck, I have almost everything on my D drive. So why in the heck do I not have space on the C drive to do whatever updates? And I don't know. It's probably because Microsoft's chalking about 50 billion gigawatts of that was a Back to the Future gigawatts. But anyway, all this information in their Windows, making it so bloated that you have to go buy a new computer. So, yeah. Anyway, there's my conspiracy theory for the day. Anyway, yeah. So I've kind of got something ready to go here at some point in this weekend, and let's see if I still have the wherewithal and the time. Things just sort of suck time right out of the weekend. You want to spend time with your family. You want to, it's just, there's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, don't know if you guys are still rolling dice, or if you're I don't know. Just figured I would say hello. Um, kind of the end of the work week here, finishing up. Um, I don't know. I guess I started. I was getting a little, reflective. Um, this afternoon, just you know, over the last couple days, sort of saying I got to do another golf tournament, and thinking about whether or not if I do that golf tournament, is it time to make another video about this stuff? Is it? And I guess I just started thinking about, time. What happens is we start out with all of this, excitement and motivation for things. It's an interesting sort of psychological thing. It's like you get into some. I've always been this way with hobbies. Get into something, and you just churn and churn and churn and churn, and you're like super duper jazzed and pumped, and then you just kind of hit a wall, right? And maybe you hit that wall, and then you say, okay, well, let's take a break. But then you get a few months down the road, and then the break, once it sets in, that you say, and maybe you get, it's probably a fraction of the motivation or excitement or whatever you had before, but even if it's 80%, a lot of times that's still plenty to want you. But then you look back and say, man, how many months did I, lose, like, without having that drive or excitement, or got a little stale, or just it can leave you feeling a little pensive about, excuse me, how life goes. And and then that I got word last night of a former work colleague who had passed away, and I guess I just thought to myself, well, sometimes you gotta take advantage of what time you've got, because you know being now past the half century mark, um, I obviously the chances are pretty good that I'm on that downslide of life, right? On that, making our way towards towards the final destination point. So, um, you just have to, I guess I'm not sure I'm going to make a ton of videos, but I need to do a little bit more, because I have fun with it a good bit of the time. Sometimes it can be weird. Sometimes it can be frustrating. Sometimes it can be, and I need to learn when that's starting to happen, to just be like, okay, let's take a step back. It's going to be okay. Anyway, I have started to play softball again, which again, over the 50-year mark, is probably it's a very interesting idea to have, but we'll see how it goes. We've had some ups and downs with it, but it's mostly just the aches and pains of getting back to using all these skeletal parts that have been long since abandoned. So, yeah. So, I guess what I'll say is, I'll be back with some videos. We'll do some golf. Probably try to do some baseball at some point here. Whether maybe it's continuing this Phillies thing. The Phillies, I think, they're right around 500. I think I'm 26, 27 games in. Atba has a lot of walks. It's getting to me a little bit, especially with the Phillies being, the Phillies of 2011 were basically four aces Phillies, and obviously the mechanism for, um, it's pretty good for ABBA, right? But I don't know. Sometimes I kind of wonder if Roy should be a double Z instead of a Z, because he seems to have two or three walks a game, and I don't. I mean, I'm sure he had walks, but it seems like there's a few too many. And I still haven't gotten Antonio Bastardo, who I think was under 3 ERA as a reliever and was one of the back end of the bullpen guys. I think his ERA is still like up above 6, and he may have a W, which I think really hurts him. So, but that's just me complaining. I mean, I have a board game. I can fart around taking the Phillies through 162 games and try and make the most of it and be happy with it. And instead, I'm sitting here grousing. So, anyway, but what else would you expect, right? Well, anyway, I didn't want to take more than 30 minutes. We're at like 20 something right now. But if you have any questions about anything, feel free to drop here in the chat for the last 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be here. Or, if you're catching this post live stream, drop a comment. I'm again, I kind of, with my social media, have also gotten a little guarded. Just not. I don't like using it a ton. I still use it too much, but it's just, I don't know. These things get to be real time / attitude eaters. They'll chew you up if you let things get to you. Not only just the letting things get to you, just being, if you want to be productive in life, one of the best ways to screw that up is to get on social media and spend a minute or two doom scrolling your Facebook or whatever, and you'll just be there for, before you know it, it'll be 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, oh man, it's bedtime. Where'd all the time go? Oh, well, I was just like looking at the same stupid posts about, I don't know, Shador Sanders or whatever it detected you spent 5 seconds reading about. So, I still get sucked into that at times, and it's kind of too bad. But, or maybe it's not too bad. I don't know. It's I guess, but it just feels less, um, just less productive than actually doing something. And that's why I like doing the tabletop stuff in my downtime. And one of the problems with doing the tabletop stuff is that time doing that is time not with family. And so there's just a balance that is tricky, and some of you guys have probably gotten to a point where that doesn't, phase either. Some some people have spouses that like spending the time watching the shows that they like to watch and are cool with you not being a part of that, especially a guy with my kind of sense of humor, which tends to be like, if something's on there that just I don't quite get, I'm going to, make all these little offhand remarks that just really inflame the situation. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off the topic. The topic, tabletop sports. One thing I will say, we will be doing History Maker Golf, and some of what I have done with, the fact I've changed careers and doing a little bit more of coding, IT type work, is that I've started wandering down the road of, I've used Excel a lot for, uh, I used Google Sheets to start, and then I moved to Excel. I've moved some of my stat keeping stuff into a SQL database. But what I did is I've been playing around with Visual Basic in Excel, and so I've got some like dice rollers built into the tables I'm using for doing the tournaments. So the upside of that is a little less time. You'll have an easier time seeing things because I won't really need a dice tray or a dice tower or anything like that because it'll be right there. The downside is some people really enjoy hearing the, sound, or, the sound of them going on. I don't know. Maybe at some point I will make a recording of some, you know, dice that when I, whoa, what happened there? Mm. Man, you would think that with a camera and everything going, that the computer wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go into sleep mode. But I guess I hadn't moved the mouse in 20 some odd minutes. But anyway, yeah, so maybe I would find some dice sounds that when I push the Visual Basic, it'll make the sound as the dice roll. But it's not like, it doesn't look like dice actually rolling. That'd be kind of cool, but um, I'm not sure I'm that clever yet. We'll see. Maybe someday I will be. But well, guess you guys don't have too many thoughts, comments, questions. Hopefully, life is treating you well. It's you know, it is what it is. I can't complain too much. Although I guess I do have a forum where it's the saying is always that I've heard, can't complain because it's not like anybody wants to listen. Well, I think I do get some people who will listen to me for at least 30 seconds complain. So I could complain and someone would listen, but I'm not complaining. Um, I think more of what I'm doing is just sort of um, ruining the way that things sort of go sometimes. you know, we can't get time back. So I think one of the things that did that for me here is with this, especially with the History Maker Golf. Um, at Thanksgiving time, Keith at Play, they sold the next set of the Pro National Golf, the fictional golf set, and I'm barely a quarter of the way through this tournament now, and I'm still not even ready to use that. So, um, but there's only so much time, and like I said, I played a lot of the second season of football. That has some fun aspects to it for sure. Um, I think one of the things with the football, the fictional football, is the good teams are pretty darn good. The bad teams are pretty darn bad, and it gets a little sad that I can't seem to help any of those bad teams get sort of like a surprise win. Like football, for instance, I think the Browns last year might have beaten the Baltimore Ravens in a game. It's like you can get those surprise results in the NFL. Well, in this set, it's really tough for the worst teams to get even a sniff of a victory, even to make it close. So, um, I don't know. I don't know. I will eventually make it through the first season of this, and I do want to move into another season, and I may take some matters into my own hand at that point and try and do a little bit of roster shuffling with the next set that I have to try and be able to just there needs to be good and bad, but if the good can be a little less good or the bad a little better, would probably be, because it would just be nice to have teams that bad teams that have a chance, because I have yet to see that. I think the two really bad teams in this 2022 set, I think it is. Um, they'll face each other here soon, so I'm interested to see which of those two teams is the better team. But they're in two different divisions, so they only play once. So the home field might make a difference in that. We'll see. And so I guess what I'll probably do is make a video sort of catching everybody up, sort of like a halfway post-mortem. I guess it's not post-mortem if it's halfway. A mid-mortem. Almost dead. uh, one foot out of the grave. Because like I said, still have half the season to go. But I'm using the full second season, keeping stats, the whole schmear. It takes time, and I would imagine there are plenty of people who, just go to the express game with the sets and don't worry too much about the stats and just let the players get the results. And I mean, that may be a satisfactory way to do it for me too. I don't know. I've always had this fascination with the statistics and seeing how consistent those statistics can be with the way it happened in real life. Now this is fictional, so um, don't have that comparison, but I still enjoy any potential. You know, do we have a running back yardage race? Who's going to get the rushing title? Who's going to have the most receptions? Who's going to have the most interceptions? How are the kickers doing? Place kickers. You have anybody who's like perfect? So, and I don't have that off the top of my head, but maybe there'll be a video here in the next week or so where I kind of do that sort of look back at the so far, and then maybe, who knows, maybe that will be the game that I put on here, would be the two duds. It's like the Raiders and the Browns from last season, or something like that. Raiders, and I guess the Jets weren't too bad, but still they seemed like they were not very good. So anyway, Giants, that's another team that could be. Maybe it could be Giants and Jets, but it's not. Um, all right. Well, I said I only wanted to go about 30 minutes, and it's a little over that. So just want to say I'm going to be back some. Probably won't be doing, 15 videos a week or anything like that. Maybe we'll get a couple, three in. So hopefully this weekend we'll get Arnie's Invitational in. It's the top 120 point golfers. They're all there. So this season I have been treating it a little more like the current PGA, where they have these, whatever they call them, special tournaments or high. I'm gonna look it up. I want to get it right. Qualifying events or something events or stupid events. um, anyway, I've tried to do a little bit more like that, so that we have we definitely have the top fields, because there's like a lot. Although I guess I haven't really raised the purses very much. So let's see, 2024 PGA Tour. Signature events, what they call them. So I'm not calling it that, but I am trying to have events where it's the cream of the crop and nobody's skipping it because you just don't want to. It has enough has enough prestige. So, and probably will keep doing them in the channel. I took the time off. It was kind of a nice time off. Um, I, honestly, I really haven't even looked in my YouTube subscriptions to see what other channels are still cranking out stuff. So, I don't know. In some regards, just will do some things and do some other things and then not do some things and not do some other things. It'll all be fine. So anyway, hope you guys have a good rest of your Friday. Not sure if it would be Saturday or Sunday. It's whenever a little bit of time avails itself. Well, I'm going to probably take it up through the typical 12 holes, 13 holes, something like that, and then we will play out the remainder tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon. I don't know which. So that should be fun, I think. The field is pretty decent here, the final 12. So, like I said, it was top 120 on the points list. So, it was a pretty good field. It'll be a good sort of tune-up. Actually, I guess what I could do is just real quick saying to close out that's Arnie's, and then there's two low down the list tournaments as far as it's like I call it so it's the Florida Open, then the Astroland Championship. So Florida is at PGA National, Astroland is at Memorial Park, and then there's the Lone Star Open. So I tried to make the schedule so that it's somewhat geographically good. So, but then they go from Texas to Augusta, Georgia for the Masterful. So, I don't know if I'll play through the lesser tournaments offline. We'll see. Time will tell. So, I guess what I also say, if you want to know who won the recent tournaments, so I think Tinseltown was the last one. It was Justin Wallace won that one. You can go back and look. I just spoiled it for you if you wanted to. But then we had the Copperhead tournament, which is at Innisbrook. A newer golfer named Guiying Ma won that. And then Sea Island, which is, I guess, Georgia. I don't know if it might be close to Hilton Head, but I'm not 100% sure. I forget. It's either on that coast or on the other coast. No, it can't be on the other coast because that's... All right, I'm going to look it up. But that was Carlos Quesada, another newer golfer that was in the PNG. And then Gail Honorado won the Sawgrass Championship, so TPC Sawgrass. So that was kind of nice to see him win that. He's been in contention a lot. And let's see, so there's Myrtle Beach, there's Charleston, there's Hilton Head. What I see, Sea Island. Yeah, so I guess that's, what is it? Is it just south of Savannah? I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's south of Savannah. It's actually not far from the border of Fly. So anyway, so yeah. All right, I'm gonna get going. I keep saying I'm gonna get off, and then I stay on. No more comments, no more chat. So we'll see you this weekend at some point for the end of Arnie's Invitational, and just have a good rest of your day. And see you back here soon on Tenacious Sports. Where is this thing?